Hey guys, Tim Seaman here again. This week I'm over at outside of Snow Hill here at Fort Neoherooka, which is an Indian fort. The fort was attacked back in 1713, and we'll get into that more a little bit later. But what I want to show you was a monument here that was erected back in 2013 as a dedication to the Tuscarora Indians. Some Indians came down from New York, Pennsylvania, and were part of the ceremony here. And this actual monument was designed by a lady over at East Carolina University, and they placed it here as a commemorative effort as part of the Tuscarora War of Eastern North Carolina. So here is the monument, and we'll take a look around this, and then we'll talk more about the actual battle that happened just behind here. Designed here. Actually, this is the fort itself. You can see the bastions on the side here. There's an inlet right here that went down to the Fort Run, which was basically a branch of the Container Creek that ran around the backside and around the side of the present day road is currently today. I think that was changed a little bit. The ebb and flow of the creek was changed somewhere between 1713 and present day. I'm not sure when that was done, but this fort, if you look at it, we'll take a look back. I'll show you guys where the fort was actually located. It's a cornfield now, but just for geographical location, I will show you where it's at. But so this fort was pretty well advanced for back in 1713. As you can see from the video there's bastions on the corner of the fort. It wasn't a traditional design for back then. So, you know, most of the forts back then were square forts. These had bastions on the corner, so the Indians had kind of incorporated the design of the fort based upon, you know, the colonial design. So it was a mixture of colonial design and a mixture of their traditional design, so for back in the time. But anyway, getting back to the battle here, and the reason why this monument is here. So this fort, Fort Neoherooka, was the last stronghold of the Tuscarora War that began in 1711 and lasted till 1713. So basically the Indians were living in harmony with the colonists until somewhere around 1711. Issues started happening for whatever reason. I think there was some trade issues, and then John Lawson, who was at the time he was an author, he was a historian, and the Indians thought that he was the governor of North Carolina, so they attacked and they killed him, which basically kind of started the Tuscarora War back in late 1711. The war went on, it progressed. There was Fort Hancock, Fort Barnwell, and Colonel Barnwell led the attack on those two forts and eventually took those. The Fort Neoherooka here was the last stronghold of the Tuscarora in eastern North Carolina. Barnwell knew at the time that he needed reinforcements for this fort. It was heavily occupied by Indians. Somewhere around 1,000+ Indians were here at this fort, and they were protecting the area around here. This is a big farming community, still is today, and I'll show you the cornfield here and the cornfield behind us. So actually the fort is located in the corner behind this irrigation system here. You can see in the foreground. In the back corner is a wood line there. It was tucked away back in that corner. So the fort was actually, parts of it were still standing until early mid 1800s, I think. From just talking to the locals around here, they could see parts of the fort. The fort was basically forgotten about after the Civil War, and I believe it was turned into farmland at that time. So there wasn't much talk about the fort at the time. Actually, a local archaeologist here back in the 1980s started looking for this fort. So Mr. Larry Pate, I knew him personally. He did some aerial reconnaissance over this area and was able to locate the fort basically from the trench works that were dug up to the beginning of the fort for the war, the battle that happened here in March 20th. I think it was 20th through the 23rd. So Mr. Larry Pate found it. He contacted some schools, some universities in the area, and East Carolina came out back in the 90s. East Carolina University came back in and started excavating the fort, and they were able to locate the original walls that were burned, some of the pottery. There was actually a lot of skeletons inside the fort because there was the fort was constructed of tunnels, and they stored a lot of food there. So some of the food there was like soybeans, peas, those kinds of things that they had stored there as food caches in case they were attacked. But getting back to the actual battle itself, Colonel James Moore from South Carolina came up and with some Indians from South Carolina and some Indians from North Carolina. I think there was a total of, I think, somewhere around 900 Indians and 33 colonists that came up here to assist with the war of 1700s there in the Tuscaroras. And he laid siege on the fort on March 1st here. So he came up, they started digging earthworks or trenches basically in a zigzag pattern, so they have a clear firing position on the fort. And in March 20th, the official battle actually started. They were able to breach the wall of the fort, and once they breached the wall, they were able to take the fort. So by March 23rd, the battle was over, and I think there was roughly 900 Indians that were dead, with 100 or so plus captured. They were later sold into slavery, I believe, in South Carolina, or taken back with Colonel James Moore at the time. So it was good, you know, a good part of history here in Eastern North Carolina. A lot of people don't even realize. I mean, and I wanted to share this with you guys. I mean, people ride by 58 here every day, going between Snow Hill and Stantonsburg, and they see a statue, they see this monument here, not a statue, but, and they don't realize basically, you know, the meaning of it. But there was a battle that took place in this area, and you know, when I was a kid, you know, I was able to go and look at the excavation process or archaeological process. They were East Carolina was out there digging and sifting, and you're seeing all the artifacts, and it was mostly pottery and those kinds of things. But you know, so you also were able to see the parts of the skeletons and see where the bullets actually entered the skeletons, you know, during this battle. So it kind of made it, you know, a little more, add a little more realism to the situation here at hand and what was going on. But this, you know, this battle was really significant because this was the last stronghold of the Tuscaroras in North Carolina. After this battle, the war was over. Most of the Indians relocated either up of Pennsylvania or New York, and they just left the area, and then the area, of course, was consumed by the colonists or white people that came in and took over at that point. So they basically pushed Indians out and took over this area and this land. But it's very interesting. There's not a lot of history. I've done research. I actually did a paper on this fort back when I was in college 20 plus years ago. So it's always interested me, and while I was down here, I said, you know, I want to show this place to you guys, and so you can see the monument and get a little bit of history about this area in case you guys are ever through this way. You can maybe want to stop by and check it out for yourself. So and then this here is a rear view of the fort. So the creek would have ran behind this area and kind of around to the left. So anyway, guys, well, thanks for watching my video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and please don't forget to like my video and subscribe to my page. So thanks you guys. Thanks for watching my video here, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you. Guys, here's the map of the Neoheroka fort. This map is actually partially drawn off the original map from the 1700s. There's a few things I want to point out to you guys I spoke about earlier, and that was the trenches here. So these trenches ran zigzag up to the fort here, and as part of the siege on March 1st, they started constructing these trenches here up until the Battle of on March 20th. Now, some of the locations here are not approximate, but they are speculatory, especially with the ebb and flow of the creek here that I spoke about earlier. Present day, the creek actually crosses the road here, and it's kind of speculatory that it circled around. The present day, the road runs here, and the fort is sitting back here on the wood line. So over here in this area is where Colonel James Moore, he was the commander-in-chief, and this is where he had set up his men in his encampment, along with Captain Maurice Moore and Colonel Mackey. Says here it was 10 white men and 50 Indians. And back behind us over here, there is some earthworks. I've seen these in the field, actually, well, on the edge of the field, and they were occupied by, it says, 310 Indians and 10 white men. I believe most of those were actually Cherokee, from what I understand, just from years past. There is a Cherokee battery here as well. Trying to keep the shadow of the camera here out of the map, but it's pretty interesting to see this. Larry Pate, who originally found the fort, just to correct myself here, it was located in 1971 by flying over sight at 3,000 feet. And Mr. Pate drew this in 1986. So he had done a lot of research, a lot of study here on the fort itself. And he also writes in here, if anyone is interested, that there's an illustration by James Moore's writings of Indian Wars in North Carolina by E. Lawrence Lee. It's in the archives. So maybe something, you guys, if you're interested in Indian War or Fort Neoheroka, you can take a look at and read a little bit more about it and get a better understanding of what exactly happened here. So this is just an overview, and I want to show you this map. I've had this map for a very, very long time. I think Larry gave it to us back in around 1990, and I had some of them blown up to this size, so they're a little bigger, and you can see everything a little better here. So I'll kind of go over the whole map here so you can see. There's the trenches or earthworks there that was dug, and there's an encampment, and there's some of the writings here about the fort and location, and some of the declinations here were changed from magnetic north from 1700 to 1986, but it's pretty accurate and spot on. So anyway, I just want to follow up my video with this, and so you guys could take a look at it. It's pretty interesting to me. Something, it was this far back, something they drew back in the 1700s, and it's pretty wild. So anyway, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and as I come across more of these pieces of history, I'll add some more videos to my channel. Thanks for watching.